Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to slow down, take a breath, and create a really quiet, validating space to look at something incredibly vulnerable. We're talking about the cycle behind pushing people away. It's a pattern so many of us struggle with, yet honestly, so few actually understand.
Think about it for a second. The moment you need someone the absolute most is often the exact moment you go quiet, pick a fight, or just disappear entirely. Why is that? Well, it's not because you don't care. It's actually because some part of you learned a very long time ago that needing someone feels profoundly dangerous.
Let's look at what this actually looks like in everyday life, because man, it can be an incredibly frustrating experience. Maybe for you, it looks like going totally cold right when someone gets close to you. Or maybe it's picking a massive fight over where to eat, the very week your relationship finally starts feeling genuinely good. Or perhaps it's just quietly stopping texting back a new friend who got a little too close. You don't do it out of cruelty. You do it because the closeness itself just started to feel like too much. You desperately want connection, but you're also, somehow, working against it at the exact same time.
Okay, let's dive into this, because we really need to reframe this entirely. What you're experiencing is a strategy, not a character flaw. It's like a giant puzzle we need to piece together, rather than some sort of defect you need to blame yourself for. Let's look at why.
Somewhere along the way, a part of your nervous system learned to treat closeness as a threat instead of a comfort. So this behavior, it's not a rational, conscious choice that you are actively making. It's a deeply protective reflex. It operates exactly like a physical reflex does when you touch a hot stove. Your body is just trying to keep you safe from perceived emotional danger, all based on some very old programming.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the invisible logic running beneath the surface. Even if you never speak it out loud, there is a core protective thought acting as the engine for this entire cycle. It goes like this: if I let you close enough to matter, you'll eventually leave or hurt me, so I'll just leave first. It's basically a preemptive strike against your own heartbreak.
To really understand this nervous system reflex, we have to look at where the pattern actually comes from. And that brings us to the role of our early attachment styles.
And this brilliantly illustrates the two specific clinical patterns at play here. Let's break them down. If you have what's called a dismissive avoidance style, you likely learned early on that relying on others was, well, totally unreliable. Therefore, absolute self-sufficiency became your ultimate survival strategy. Closeness now simply feels like a threat to the independence that once kept you safe. But on the other hand, if you have a fearful avoidance style, which is sometimes called disorganized attachment, the bind is even more painful. You actually crave closeness and fear it at the exact same time. It's like texting someone, "I miss you," and then immediately leaving their reply on read.
Both of these attachment patterns usually trace right back to childhood environments. These were environments where relying on others was proven to be fundamentally unsafe. It usually stems from situations where depending on someone inevitably led to deep, deep disappointment, or where love and affection only ever came with strict conditions attached. So you learned that connection always came with a dangerous catch.
And this brings us to a really difficult truth. We need to talk about the self-fulfilling rejection cycle. This is the invisible cost that nobody really talks about. Let's move to how this builds into a devastating loop. Step 1, you crave connection. But as you get closer, Step 2 kicks in and you feel profoundly threatened by that closeness. So, Step 3, you push the person away to protect yourself, which leads directly to Step 4, where you experience abandonment. But here's the kicker. It's a self-created abandonment. And finally, in Step 5, that abandonment quietly confirms your original belief that closeness always ends badly. The very strategy you used to avoid rejection is actually exactly what caused it. I know that sounds heavy, but here is the reassurance you really need today. It is entirely possible to break this pattern. You can't just think your way out of a physical reflex, sure, but there absolutely is a clear way out of the cycle. What genuinely helps is starting to notice that split-second moment right before you pull away. You have to learn to pause in that friction and name what is actually underneath the feeling, even if you just whisper it to yourself. Furthermore, therapy focused directly on attachment tends to help the most here. And this is incredibly important because this pattern lives in the nervous system's expectations, not in logic you can just reason your way past. Attachment-focused therapy actually helps rewire those deep bodily expectations.
So the crucial point is having an internal mantra you can use in real time. When you feel that overwhelming urge to run, tell yourself, "This closeness feels unsafe right now. This person is not the problem." This simple, powerful phrase helps you begin to separate your physiological, nervous system fear from the actual partner standing right in front of you.
If all of this sounded a little too familiar to you, please remember this. You are not incapable of love. You're not doing this on purpose to hurt anyone, and you certainly aren't trying to hurt yourself. Some deeply ingrained part of you is just trying to keep you safe, using an old strategy that made sense once upon a time but simply doesn't anymore.